Hi there, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and I have another plugin for you today. And this is an old one that I was talking about on one of my Monday live streams. And I went, oh, you need one of these. And they went, oh, you haven't released that yet. And I went, oh, okay, well, I guess I'd better. It's a little thing called DigitalBlack. Now, I'm going to have some difficulty demonstrating this. So what I've done is I pumped the output and padded the input, or at least I can pad the input a little bit. Because what this guy does is gate just quiet sounds. Now the threshold goes up a fair amount, but I'll be demonstrating it on a drum recording. And the drum recording has got some room sound. And what this is really designed to do is work on like DI sounds, things like guitars and whatever, that you might want to tighten up real tightly. This is what I get, however. So we got the drum sound, and then if you turn threshold up, it's still not gating much, but when it does, it cuts right out. So the way this works is this is a dual mono gate. It is designed to work on a stereo track if you had maybe a bus that was your guitars or something, and so you wanted to independently gate the two sides just so that they would be more crisp, and so you'd be able to gate actual stereo content. I'll also exaggerate it, and that's going to make it cut out faster, and we're going to get some stuff that is one side or the other, because this is a stereo drum mic recording being gated by a dual mono gate. And I've got the threshold cranked way up. You can see I've got a dry wet here too. But the idea is I'm showing it off. Now, the thing that makes this gate interesting is that when it cuts off, it goes through a stage where it is attenuating through negative density. To put that in simpler terms, sounds sound like they're going farther away when it gates them. So this is what you use for stuff where you want it to gate to literally DigitalBlack, as it says. And the AU is a dual mono. The VST is stereo, but it's not linked stereo because it needs to be able to do independent sides. I've got other stuff like SoftGate for if you want them to be linked. And I don't have a good way of demonstrating it, so what you should do is try it. This is meant for kinds of sounds that I don't have on this computer. So my idea is if you'd like to try out a gate, then download DigitalBlack and give it a try. Turn the threshold up until it's gating enough. It's got a variety of things going on, like a hysteresis effect, so it's not going to sputter. You'll notice that it wasn't sputtering a lot on the on and offs, even though the signal I was giving it was sort of worst case scenario. It's got your dry wet, so you can use that as well. And it's basically just your like guitars in individual tracks style gate that you can do really staccato things with dry signals, which that is not. That's a room mic. So I don't know what to tell you. People were asking for this kind of thing, and I was like, I've got it. And they said, no, you don't, because you didn't release it as a VST, and you didn't release it as a 64-bit AU. And so I'm like, okay, here you go. I am not set up to demonstrate this super well. I'm doing like all of my music stuff on analog gear and my synthesizer and stuff like that. And I'm still working on getting that in the box workflow together. Like all of the stuff that I do is based on my experience with actual gear, and I don't really trust plugins very much, so I don't work with them as a matter of course. And like even this reverb that you're hearing is my antique MIDI verbs, the old school MIDI verb, and it is running through the SRS, which I need to study so that I can make a plugin that will do a little closer to what it does. But that said, I hope you like DigitalBlack. It is, like everything else, free, because all this is supported by Patreon. And one of the reasons I'm working on analog gear rather than being like, I'm doing everything in the box, it's just as good as anything else, is because I haven't mastered all of the stuff that I'd like to do regarding stuff in the box. I mean, I can do some amazing tricks with my hardware gear, as you've just heard. That's more tricks with MIDI verbs right there. I've done NV, which is not exactly a MIDI verb, but it uses some of the same concepts, and there's just a lot to do. I'm doing this by myself, and I'm getting some help from like my brother Dan figuring out certain things like making VST GUIs, but I'm working my way through stuff sort of 1 week at a time. Granted, normal people don't release one plugin a week, but I've got a lot to do before the Airwindows in the box mix system is properly putting up competition to the analog gear I'm used to using. So what we're going to do is the best we can. And so for today, DigitalBlack is my sort of high-speed, tighten up guitars and things gate. And if you're just trying to cut noise out, you might not need to turn it up all the way to full crank. But I hope you like it. And if you want to keep me on the job doing this kind of thing, you can jump on the Patreon, because I'm supported by Patreon. And I've been telling people, like, if I come up with a new plugin that you would buy for $50 a pop, then please jump on my Patreon and throw an additional $50 a year onto that, which is pretty reasonable. And if I've done another plugin within a year, you can keep it going. So we'll see how all that works out. I got sick, and so that sort of stumbled, because one of the things is that's just internet economics for you. I'm playing by YouTube's rules and so on. I'm playing by Patreon rules. So that's dangerous. But all things considered, I'm doing the best I can with it. And I'm continuing to come up with new stuff. And I hope you were along for the ride. Even if you can't do anything else, you could continue paying attention, and I'll see whether I can't keep coming up with interesting stuff and developing the stuff that I do. With that, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.